as we all get settled in, it's so good to see you all here and have you all here. I will just have my colleague Lana come in and just give us a few guidelines. Over to you, Lana.
Yes, good afternoon. Before we formally begin the module, we'd just like to address some community guidelines and expectations. So at any and all points during this module, when you are in a breakout room for any engagement activities, you'll be able to return to the main meeting space from the breakout room activities if you have any questions or concerns, or would just like to come back to the main space. Participation in this module is also at the discretion of each of you, and we encourage each and every one of you to participate and be present in whichever way you're most comfortable. So this could mean sitting, moving, stretching, having your audio on and off, your video on and off, and we just ask that you each respect how people are showing up with us today. And lastly, we'd just like to disclose that at some points during this module, we hope to do some mindfulness exercises with you all. These may not be suitable for you if you're going through or working through an active trauma, so we also encourage you to participate in whatever capacity you feel comfortable with, which may mean opting out of that particular engagement activity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lana. Well, it's so good to have each and every one of you here. We're all excited for this. I think wellness is one of those most exciting topics. As Lana just spoke right now, before we even go into this, I'll just like to take a moment to introduce ourselves, but most importantly, I want to introduce three special people. My colleague Peter there is our host, and he's going to put up a slide of three special people that I want to introduce in this moment. Yes, over there is a team of three special people. They are the HEAL ED team. Health, entrepreneurship, advocacy, and lifestyle education. This is a team of scholars from the university. They are alumni students from the University of Minnesota, and they are the co-founders of the HEAL ED team. Their names are Ethan, Hannah, and Lana. They are actually the people who are responsible for putting all the material that we're going to talk about today together. They are social scientists. They all have backgrounds in health sciences, not social scientists. They all have backgrounds in health sciences and have a passion for improving global health and wellness. So we want to say thank you to you, Lana, and to you, Ethan, and to you, Hannah, for putting all this together to help entrepreneurs in Africa live a better lifestyle at their workplaces. So thank you so much. And I would also want to introduce myself to you. My name is Rose Mercy. I am a professional coach and also a professional counselor. I work here in Uganda with a church called Watoto Church, and I oversee their global sponsorship. But most importantly, I work as a counselor in the church and in the outcasts in the communities. And I want to also introduce my colleague, Peter, to you, who's going to just do a brief introduction of himself.
Hey, thank you so much, Rose Mercy Sendege, and thank you, Merab and the HEALed team for having us here, and a warm welcome to each and every one of you that is joining us this afternoon, or whichever time applies, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome. So my name is Peter Kakuru, and I am privileged to be a friend and a colleague to Mercy Sendege. I also serve in the same institution where Mercy is, but for church, and I am a pastor. I am also a certified leadership coach, trainer, and speaker under the John C. Maxwell Global Team, and also I'm a professional counselor. And so privileged to be here and looking forward to our interactions together as we address a very important life area, and that is wellness, because it cuts across every area of our lives. Looking forward to engaging with each and every one of you and learning from you and through your experiences as well. So back to you, Mercy, and glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Peter. So we've introduced ourselves. We've introduced the HEAL Ed team. Now I would like to take this moment to have you guys introduce yourselves to us. And if you can just introduce your name in the chat box or open up your mic, tell us who you are, and maybe tell us what is your favorite holiday destination. Where would you want to go? Out of all the stressful places, where would you want to go? So this is an opportunity for you to also test your microphone to just be sure that when you're ready to speak, it will be working well. So who would want to go first? But you can also use the chat box to just tell us, where do you want to go? Where do you wish to go for your holiday? Anyone who is ready?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you so well.
Good afternoon to you.
Yeah.
My name is Valerie Abates. I'm the founder of Coffee for Talk, an initiative that fosters peace and harmony in families. So we sit over a cup of coffee to discuss disputes that are in our families, basically about domestic violence. And then we find ways on how we can curb the causes of domestic violence in our families, so that we have stable families, because the family is the foundation of everything.
Right.
So without a stable family, we cannot move anywhere. And right now I'm in Kasanga. It is raining, and my place that I want to take a holiday is Cape Town. I don't know whether there are some showers there, but I'd really love to be there one time for a holiday. Thank you.
Well, it's so nice to see you, Valerian. I like the idea about coffee and chatting about things that are pertinent in our community. But I've never been to Cape Town, so I'm with you. I would love to go to Cape Town one day. Anybody else? Thank you so much, Valerian. Anybody else who'd like to introduce themselves to us as we start? One or two more people? Whoever feels comfortable to go ahead. Yeah, there's a brave face right there. Go ahead. You can open your mic. It's still muted.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Tulufelo Moyo. I'm from Botswana.
Oh, nice to meet you, Tulutha.
Yeah, I'm Tulufelo Moyo. I'm from Botswana. I'm a full-time farmer.
Right. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's
yes,
awesome. So where would you want to go for a holiday if you were to take one?
If I were to take one, I would love to go to Dubai.
To Dubai. Oh, that's a beautiful place. That's one beautiful place. Yeah.
Yes, that's where I would love to go, because I spent most of my time in the jungle. So I would like to go to a different atmosphere.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Dubai seems like a good destination, and Peter is over there clapping for you and going like, yeah, Dubai, oh yeah, Dubai, oh yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to give as many chances to everyone, but is there anyone else who would want to introduce themselves as we start? And what you do?
Okay, Mercy, there's some introductions that are on the chat. Maybe I can read them out.
Oh, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so we have Laura Teledano. Please forgive me if I pronounce the name incorrectly, but you help me do it better. And Laura is the program director at Potential Energy, and her favorite destination in Uganda is Lake Bunyonyi. Okay, beautiful, Laura. Yes. And then we have Jonathan from Uganda, Jonathan Kambuku, and he processes maize flour. Jonathan is yet to let us know what would be his favorite holiday destination. Please let us know. And I would encourage the others as well. Please just type on the chat. We'd like to know a little more about you so that we are not speaking to strangers, but rather we at least know a little something about each and every one of us here. So looking forward to the rest of the chats that are coming from you. Marcy?
Right. Thank you so much, Peter. So it's so good to meet all of you. Right now, we'll just get right into it, and I'll have Peter take us through the next part and just a few guidelines for us, and then we can kickstart. Go ahead, Peter.
All right. So please keep your introductions coming through. I can see many of them are coming through on the chat, and we will be happy to read them as we go along the way. So I'm just going to share my slides right here. And in terms of, I want to just take the next 1-2 minutes just to hear from each and every one of you. I know that you have taken the time to be here with us today. And so what benefit do you hope to gain from this session? So would like just to quickly hear from you. So if we just type on the chat, let's just take about 2 minutes just to do this, 2-3 minutes. So that we are able to hear from you. What would make your time here worthwhile with us today? So what benefit do you hope to derive from our session here today? It's a session that's going to really speak into the area of wellness. And as people who are in the business world, entrepreneurs doing different things in different areas, some of you even in the jungles, what would make your time here worthwhile? What would you want us to speak into to make your time here valuable? I'd like to get your feedback. So please type on the chat. Also, you could also come onto your mic, maybe 1 or 2 of you, and share with us what would make your time here worthwhile. And so if you would like to share with us, please, you could raise your hand using the reactions button at the bottom, or you could just type on the chat. We can read a couple of your expectations. Marcy and I are hoping that by the time we are done with our session, they would have had each and every one of you say something. So Caroline, please go ahead and share with us. So you turn your mic on.
Hello.
Yes, Caroline.
My expectation is that maybe you'll share some insights and balance our lives, the pressures of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Because you're busy chasing business, we have, and yet we also need to make, we have our spiritual lives and all that. So hopefully you'll be able to share some insights in those areas on how to balance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Caroline. And by the way, Marcy, we forgot to mention that you and I are both also entrepreneurs.
Yes, we are.
Alongside the work that we do, we also manage personal businesses, so we can identify in one way or another. Yes, Valerie, please come on and share with us. Valerie seems to be the most active participant so far. So might just listen to you at the end of it. Please go ahead and share with us.
Oh yeah, I really don't know whether this is really a question, but I'm getting this thing into context.
Yes.
There is this context where you have to consider maybe every enterprise or something or a product or a service you're doing has impacts to the lives of people.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, the fact on how people perceive what you're offering to them. And of course, it has repercussions. Maybe if I take an example of coffee for talk, so if I give out people coffee, on every chat we have, so people have tendencies of saying coffee makes you dry, coffee has these repercussions. So it's a little bit confusing for me. Maybe if I can, at the end of the session, I can get more light on what exactly it entails. Oh, it is both combined. You have to consider the fact of what people perceive as to their lives, or the other aspect that runs to the people and the environment surrounding them. Thank you.
Okay. Mercy, I hope you have captured that in terms of Valerie's expectation. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your input. I saw someone else. Someone else had turned on their mic to speak, but I don't quite recollect who that was. If that is you, please go ahead and share with us. Also, you could type on the chat. It would be helpful for us to know what it is that you desire to walk away with this afternoon or this morning or this evening, depending on where you are joining us from. So we've had, I think, from 2 people. Is there anyone else who would like to share with us? All the rest of us here are open to receive whatever we have come prepared for you with. And so some of us here could just be there saying, I'm open, I'm ready. Whatever you have for me, I will be able to take that in. So if that is you, that's also okay. Otherwise, if you have an expectation, please kindly share with us as we get ready to carry on. Anyone? Anyone else? Okay. Mercy, looks like the rest of us have come with open hands to receive whatever will come our way. Yes, so
it looks like it. It looks like it.
Okay.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. So, okay. All right. So I'm just going to just share my slide once again and just run you through the agenda for our time together, and hopefully we'll also be able to address what has been raised by our 2 friends who did share what their are. So in terms of our agenda for the evening, in terms of areas that we hope to speak into and are able to address, first of all, will be defining wellness. Our goal is to really address the area of wellness and in view of dealing with stress. So we shall be defining wellness and its multiple dimensions. And then we shall carry on to explain the impact of stress, and on the other hand, wellness on our work, best productivity, financial wellness, and generally in all areas of our lives in terms of health and on how stress can impact, especially if we do not handle it well. But also the benefits of just being well and how that overflows into every other area of our lives in terms of positive impact. We shall also identify healthy behaviors and positive wellness practices, things that we as entrepreneurs can do, can adopt, and can adapt our lives to doing that will help us to be well, because if we are well, then that will impact positively every other area of our lives. So things like regular exercise, good diet, community engagement, and keeping our social interactions alive and well. Then we shall look at describing mindfulness and how this relates to positive wellness practices, and then ways to incorporate new healthy and positive wellness practices in everyday life. And so we'll be able to speak into how can we make sure that then wellness becomes a part of who we are, and it's something that we look at or attend to maybe once a week, or maybe that time when we get a holiday, that 1 month in the year. So how do we make this a lifestyle? So that is really what we'll be covering over the course of our time together. And so, Mercy, I'll just invite you just to come in and let's look into the next slide. The next slide, Mercy, you can probably speak into this.
Right. So 2021 and 2022 have been quite unique years. Unique years for all of us in different ways. But also in life, or in these past 2 years, we've all experienced occasional challenges or crises in our lives in various ways. And these may be in our families, in our workplaces, and these challenges might be even financial challenges or health challenges relational challenges, or most importantly for us as entrepreneurs, business challenges. How we deal with these challenges is very critical to our psychological and physical well-being. And even as we've navigated the past 2 years, or even as we've navigated, especially 2020 and 2021, loss has been one of those challenges that has greatly affected us. Like from a context in Botswana or in Uganda here, we've gone through like lockdowns, several lockdowns, you know, and that has affected our lives. You know, we've gone through different types of losses of jobs, loss of businesses have closed, loss of money or property or friendships. You know, things have changed a lot around us in the past 2 years. So it is very important. And coming from what Peter has just said in terms of wellness, it's very important for us to build up effective coping mechanisms to overcome these life challenges. And more specifically, if we move into like what the implications are around COVID, you know, like in Africa alone, over 167,000 people have lost their lives in this past period. Around the globe, I think it's nearly 5 million people right now. Directly in our own lives, we've experienced the loss of employment or partial employment. For some of us as entrepreneurs, we've had to let people go at our workplaces. You know, we've had to minimize, you know, our costs. These financial hardships, the cost of living has gone up because of border closures here and there, separation of families. So at the end of the day, sometimes when we're trying to live or trying to work out life, some situations can seem a bit more overwhelming than usual and can lead us to a point of a crisis in our lives. Yeah, Peter?
Okay, so thank you so much, Mercy, for sharing that. And in terms of crisis, so a crisis can be defined ideally as a stressful time in one's life, where you go through experiences that seem to overwhelm your usual coping mechanisms or ability, and seem to disrupt the usual flow of your life. And in terms of a crisis will take the shape of this kind of cycle that deals with 5 key areas here. And starting from the very first one in terms of a threat. So what brings about a crisis in our lives is when we encounter a situation or an occurrence that threatens our sense of well-being. For instance, you fall sick, and because you have fallen sick as an entrepreneur, certain decisions or certain transactions are affected because of your ill health. And because they're affected, then your financial resources get affected, and you begin to experience a sense of threat to your financial well-being or your financial stability for your business. And so a crisis starts with a threat. So an event or an occurrence that threatens your sense of well-being, your sense of financial well-being, maybe could be your sense of physical well-being, maybe it could be your sense of employment well-being. And once we perceive that occurrence as a threat, we are wired naturally to respond to any threat in any one of 3 ways. One is a flight, and a flight response is where we run away or we evacuate ourselves from the threat environment. And then the second area is fight, where we confront the threat, and then we confront it with the hope of dealing away with it. So if it's, for instance, in our case, probably you have a financial crisis for that matter. Your response in terms of a fight response could be, where can I find money to help me deal with this need now? And so you look for someone who you could borrow money from. So you find ways of confronting the threat so that you can return to a place of normalcy. And the third one is freeze. And this response came later on. Initially, the idea was that there would be two responses, flight and fight, but freeze is one where you kind of like ignore the issue, ignore the threat, hoping that it will go away by itself. You bury your head in the sand and you hope that things will somehow work themselves out by themselves. Now, your guess is as good as mine that that is not a good strategy. And indeed, any one of these responses that we extend when dealing with a threat could be fight, flight, or freeze. And the goal of our responses is to neutralize or nullify this threat. Now, when the threat still persists in the midst of our attempts to respond to it, then we come to the third phase, which is tension. We begin to feel a sense of tension. Why? Because this threat is not going away. We are exposed, and indeed the likelihood of our fears coming to pass begin to get strengthened. And so with this tension, we begin to feel a sense of unease, we begin to feel anxious, we begin to feel fearful, and we are now growing in how much stress we are experiencing. But while we are still experiencing this tension, we still look for ways of responding to our threats. So we try different approaches. And if then some of the approaches that we have applied do deal with the threat, then we come to the stage of stabilization, where we are able to stabilize, we are able to gain a sense of control to those areas of our lives. And then we are able to adopt any measures or any mechanisms that we have introduced in our lives that have given us a sense of stability, and we learn to move and carry on with our lives. So that is really the cycle of a crisis, how we go through a crisis. I know that in our lives, we deal with several crises that come our way. And so threat, response, tension, stability or stabilization, and adoption. That's a cycle of a crisis. Now, thinking about the impact stress can have in regard to our lives. And so stress when we encounter stress in our lives, there is a healthy level of stress. The kind of stress or strain that causes us to act and respond in dealing with a situation. I'll give a case in point. You at home, it is probably midnight, and your child falls sick. Now, you will experience a sense of stress because of what's happening at home. And that stress will move you to get out of bed, however tired you are, get your child in the car and take them to the hospital. And so there's a healthy degree of stress that causes us to move, to do things that we ought to do, or to respond and address issues that are around us. Now, stress becomes unhealthy when it begins to impact us negatively in terms of our physical, in terms of our mental, in terms of our emotional, in terms of our behavior, states of life or attributes of life. And the idea here for us is how can we be able to address some of these areas? When I think about physical symptoms that indeed you are dealing with an unhealthy level of stress. Physical symptoms could include chills or unusual sweating, tendency to startle and sudden noises, a sense of hyper alertness, because what stress does is that it tends to kick our body into a sense of overdrive. And that's what drives us the place of fight or flight. And so sometimes we have a sense of hyper alertness, tensions in our bodies, nausea or dizziness, rapid heartbeat, muscle aches, difficulty with sleep. And so some of those could be physical symptoms. In terms of emotional symptoms, you could have shock, frequent mood swings, anxiety, sadness or grief. We could have, in some cases, depressed feelings. And depression in this case is where we have been don't see light at the end of the tunnel. Fear, guilt, and then we have a sense of fear that things are just going to go wrong. We don't know how to control it. We are irritable. We have a sense of helplessness. We feel helpless. Some mental symptoms that indeed we are dealing with stress that is unhealthy could be confusion, difficulty concentrating. And as I mentioned some of these things, I hope that you are taking stock in your own life presently. Are some of these things manifesting in your life? Disorientation, you don't have a sense of clarity on different issues, distressing dreams or nightmares, a sense of forgetfulness. You know what you ought to do, but you have moments where you have a lapse of memory, and then you have a sense of forgetfulness, thoughts of regret. And this has to do when you are experiencing stress, courtesy of a crisis or an overwhelming encounter. And then you look back and you realize that maybe there are things you could have done that could have prevented what you're dealing with. And so you have these constant thoughts of regret. What if I had done this? What if I had done the other? And even self-accusation. So those are some of the mental symptoms. And then, of course, behavior is a tendency to withdraw from others, anger or snapping at others, loss of appetite, crying spells, substance abuse. So sometimes we pick up on behaviors like substance abuse, where you use alcohol or drugs. And again, this is a flight response where for a moment of time, you want to forget about what you're dealing with and escape into a happy place. And so substances tend to help us to get into that happy place for those who do that. And of course, there is a reduced sexual appetite. So these are some of the ways that stress can impact us in terms of our physical, mental, emotional, and behavioral aspects of our lives. Now, talking about stress. Stress again is how the body responds to daily demands based on it. And like I said, we encounter stress, but it's really the extent, the degree of stress that you encounter really makes the difference. So the question I would like to ask us, for those of us who are here as entrepreneurs, I'd like to ask you this question. How does stress show up for you? What are some of the ways that stress shows up for you? And I'd like to hear from us, because indeed we are people that entrepreneurs. We probably lead teams of people. We probably have competing demands for our time. So how does stress show up for you? I would like us to hear a couple of responses from you for us to reflect on what that is for you. So you could get onto the chat and you are able to respond, or you could be able to come onto the mic and share with us. So we'd like to quickly just reflect on that. How does stress show up for you? And by the way, we say that stress is not all bad. It's just really the degree of stress that we are dealing with. And again, too much stress or even constant prolonged stress can have consequences. And so, yeah, the goal is for us not to contain stress that is too much or is prolonged over time. So how does stress show up for you? So we're happy to hear some thoughts from you. All right. So Cordelia, you could post on the chat, let us know. since it's raining where you are. But I would like to hear from us. So for some of you, I'm going to call you out by name. Request for your permission, call you out by name so that we can hear some of your reflections, if that is okay with you. All right. So we've not had you share with us yet, Phoebe. So Phoebe, if you are comfortable, you could turn on your mic and just share with us, Phoebe. How does stress show up, Phoebe? There are stressors in your life. How does that show up for you, Phoebe? Okay, so
Hello. Hear me?
yes, Phoebe.
All right. So I am just trying to think through this question, especially as you mentioned as an entrepreneur, because when you're going through it, and my past experience with stress has been a lot more personal than it has in terms of business or in terms of affecting my work. But maybe I'll just share my experience of how previous episode just affected my work. I did a team, and I reached a point whereby I felt that I felt like I had nothing to offer to give them, because my mind would go blank. Like I am in a meeting and I am not following. I am struggling to just make sense of what is being discussed. I have people looking up to me, and I don't know what it is that they're talking about or what needs to be done. So I had like a block in my mind. There was a blank, like things are just not making sense. And every time like something came up, say work related or something that needed a lot of like mental capacity to think through, it's like my mind would completely shut down, and so I was unable to deliver in that sense. So what happened is that I had to take a leave of absence, sick leave, just to get into some to go undertake therapy and a few things that would help me regain and recover from that stress and the mental decline that I've taken. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the best one thinking through.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. I would not have solicited for a better response than yours in terms of just sharing with us. Thank you for being very open and vulnerable with us to share your experience. Indeed, that must have been a difficult time. Indeed, like you shared, indeed, when we are experiencing intense stress, our minds can go blank, and we just have little to contribute. It's good for you to recognize. Thank you, Phoebe, for going ahead to address it. That's very important. I see also, Mercy, would you like to read for us the comments on the chat? Those who are posting on the chat, please go ahead.
Yes. Naomi says, I feel low energy, irritable, and muscle X. Usually I take the day off and the next day I'm usually as good as new. That's what she does. And that's how stress shows up for Naomi. And then for Cordelia, stress shows up in the following ways. I panic, shiver, fear, headache. I just drop whatever I was going to do, even when I know what exactly I should be doing. That's from Cordelia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Phoebe. Thank you, Cordelia, and thank you. I think it is Hey, Godfrey, would you like to share with us, Godfrey? All right, Godfrey, your mic is turned on. Are you going to share with us, Godfrey? Okay, Laura, I think I saw you turning on your. How does stress show up for you? Okay, it looks like I did not see. Right. Okay. Okay, let me see. All right. So does anyone else want to share with us, how does stress show up for you? Okay, at least we've had some contributions, very useful contributions that come through for us. And so thank you for those who have shared with us. I think that's been really helpful. So let me just carry on with the presentation right here. Maybe just carry on with the presentation, and we can carry on here in that regard. So why is it important to master wellness? We've had our three friends that have shared with us that indeed stress can have such negative impact on our well-being, physical well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being, behavior well-being. And if we do not address stress, then we'll see consequences such as lower energy or attention or productivity in the workplace, like we had one of us sharing. For those of us who are in business, likely to be decreased customer and employee satisfaction. Why? Because you find that then when the stress levels are building up, because it affects people mentally and physically, you find that then people are falling sick, or people's attitude is not right. People do not have the energy, and so you find that it affects how we relate with our customers. It affects our employees. We saw that one of the effects of stress is that you as a leader can end up shouting or snapping at your employees. And not because of what they have necessarily done, but because of the tension and stress that you are dealing with. And that can affect employee morale and indeed affect us. Decreased life satisfaction. Of course, people who are dealing with stress are usually unhappy. And that's why you find that then one of the symptoms, they withdraw from others. They have a sense of depression. So it also affects us where we have greater risk to lifestyle illnesses. We've seen that research has shown that usually diseases such as cancer, diabetes, and heart disease are escalated when we go through stressful encounters. And then, of course, it affects us financially, monetary loss, economic instability. Again, because our productivity is affected, we have to take care of health expenditures. And so stress carries significant consequences. And that's why we must be intentional about being well, pursuing wellness. And we see here that indeed, if the negative effects of stress or life challenges are not addressed, we'll see life challenges can affect us psychologically. We have grief, where grief is really the pain that comes with loss, loss in different ways. It could be loss financially, it could be loss in terms of our relationships, it could be loss, because sometimes stress can affect our relationships, and we end up finding ourselves in the place of separation or even divorce, for that matter, for those who are married. And so stress, depression, and if we do not address these effects, then we can find ourselves getting caught in the trap of substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, maybe caffeine or different substances. Some people are pushed to the place of suicidal tendencies, and either suicidal abuse, substance abuse and suicidal tendencies are all flight responses, where you feel that the only way I can relieve myself from this tension and stress is by fleeing from the stress environment. And so substance abuse is a temporal fleeing. Suicidal thoughts are, how can I permanently deal away with these stress factors or stressors by just taking my life? And people have done that. You see some people responding through anger and violence, and for others, it reflects through sickness, terminal illnesses. And that's why it's important for us to deal with stressors in our lives, to confront and deal with these issues that come out of stress, because they can have such a negative impact on us. So I will invite my friend Marcy to come and take us to the next slide.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. At this point right now, I'd like us to just take a small break and in our minds and just take a deep breath in and out. Maybe sit up in your chair or make sure your feet are firmly planted on the ground and just take a moment to think through where you're at right now according to your stress levels. It's important sometimes to just establish what is my current reality right now. As an individual, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, how do I feel? And so we're just going to go through this distress ladder together. And then when you come across, it's a scale of 0 to 10. And you can just indicate, we'll have a poll that will show up. I think Peter will put up the poll and just indicate which number you're falling at in that poll. Yeah, it's an anonymous poll. We won't know who has posted what. So just post it and just so that you can just tell. If you want to, you can post your number in the chat box for us to know where everyone is at. If you don't want to, that's also okay. So at 0, I'm completely relaxed with no distress. I sleep deeply. 1, I am very relaxed. I may be awake, but dozing off. At 2, I am awake, but feel no tension. 3, I feel a bit of tension. I keep my tension from wandering. 4, I am feeling mild distress and unpleasant feelings. I am starting to feel worried. At 5, my body tension now is quite unpleasant, though I can still tolerate it and think clearly. At 6, I am feeling moderate to strong distress and unpleasant feelings. My ability to cope with stress is fading. 8, 7, my body tension now is very unpleasant, and the discomfort is affecting my ability to think clearly. At 8, I am feeling a great deal of distress with a lot of fear, anxiety, and worry. I cannot tolerate this level of distress for very long. 9, the distress has left me extremely anxious and desperate, helpless, and unable to handle it. 10, I'm filled with panic and I have extreme tension throughout my body. This is the worst possible fear and anxiety I could ever imagine, and I cannot think at all. So maybe take 15 seconds or so and think through where you are. Thank you, Erica, for sharing. And Carolyn at 3. And Naomi, thank you. Moyo, thank you for sharing. And Phoebe, thank you so much. Well done. So now.
Marcy, can I share the poll?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the poll question. I've actually launched it now. You should be able to see it before your on your screen. So please just tick wherever applies for you. Would like to just get a general sense of all of us who are here. Where are the majority of us? So if you would just indicate, thank you. I see responses coming through. Thank you. Just indicate where you are, and we'll just give this a couple of maybe 1 minute, and then we shall be able to end the poll and be able to display the outcomes. So please just, we have about 7 responses coming through. I encourage those of us who are yet to respond on the poll, please do so. 8 responses now coming through, that's good. Would like to get at least minimum half sample of the room space here. So if you are yet to populate on the poll, please do that. Even those who responded on the chat, I'll ask you just to put the poll and just fill in your information so that we get a sense generally in the room, where are we? Is this a room of entrepreneurs who are mildly stressed, or people who are highly stressed, and we get to appreciate where we are? So thank you for those who have done that. I think about 10 of us have done that already. Really appreciate that. That's about half of us in the room, and more than half of us are entrepreneurs in the room. So I can see a couple of you, just one, maybe 3 to 5 more seconds to allow maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of you to post, and then we'll end the poll right here. So thank you. Okay, so thank you. So I think, Mercy, I can end the poll here, and let me end the poll here. Okay, and allow me to share the results, Mercy, if that's okay.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I don't know if you are able to see the results. Can you see them, Mercy?
We're seeing, I think, the normal poll shot. That's what we're seeing on our end.
Okay.
And the results are showing, I think. Okay, go ahead.
They're showing? Can you see them?
Yes, I think.
Okay. So in the room, I think about 40% of us are at 5. And we have 10% of us here at 6. We don't have anyone beyond 6. Another 20% are at 4, at 3, and then we have those who are at 1. So I think averagely we're probably looking at possibly 5 Mercy, in terms of general levels of stress in the room, about 5. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all for participating in the poll. Over to you, Mercy.
Awesome. Over to you, Peter.
So thank you. Thank you, Mercy, for just taking us through the distress ladder. And again, I'll just refer us just to a quick question for us just to respond. I would like to appreciate, Mercy would like to appreciate our participants who have been really engaged and going along with us. So a question for us, having pointed out our levels of stress. So what habits, healthy or unhealthy, have you picked up to manage your stress? I'll ask that question again. For each one of you, Richard, Erica, Aisha, Runji, Sebukwao, Caroline, what habits can you identify that you have picked up, whether healthy or unhealthy, to manage the stresses that you are dealing with? And would like to hear from you, because we are all here to learn from one another, and we're all here to see how can we be better and how can we do better. So I'll ask you just to come onto the chat, and you can type out for us if you are comfortable sharing, and we'll be able to identify with that. So you can come onto your mic. Philip, I don't know, Philip, if your mic is turned on and you'd like to share with us. We'd like to hear from maybe about 2 or 3 of you on the mic. Sorry. Okay. All right. Sorry. I hope you had that question very clearly, but also maybe let me just share my slide so that then you can also see that as well. So we want to hear from you. What habits, healthy or unhealthy, have you picked up to manage stress? So what habits? What habits? I hope, Caroline, that is clear for you. So I want to hear from you. What habits have you picked up? Or are you currently involved in the journey of managing stress? Could be healthy or unhealthy. One just relate with what that is for you. And Merab, thank you, Merab, for starting us off by saying that I stress it. I stress it. So Merab is moved to it when she's encountering stress. Thank you, Merab, for sharing that with us. If you would like to share with us on your mic, please just raise your hand so that we can be able to give you an opportunity to speak, and I will be able to do that. Erica says, I hang out with friends. They always know how to calm me down, drinking, working out, just generally being with my kids. Thank you so much, Erica, for sharing with us. Yes, Laura. Laura, I think I saw you turning on your mic. Please congratulations. Okay, it seems to be a buzzing sound. I don't know who that is coming from. If that is you, please just mute your mic. Okay, Robert, we just mute your mic right there. Yes, Caroline, please go ahead and share with us. Caroline, your hand is right up there.
Yes. What I do. Okay, I come from a background of high stress levels. So having crossed, kind of allowed myself to. And what I do, I know that I can't solve every situation at a particular point in time. I don't know how to describe what I do, but like I know I cannot. I deal with what I can't do, and I have no means to deal with. For some reason, at the back of my mind, and it works for me. Of course, as I'm a Christian, commit some of those to God in prayer. Somehow let it be. I just let it be, and somehow, okay, I don't like throw it window. I won't deal with it. It's there at the back of my mind, but I just won't give it attention to stress my mind.
Yeah.
I could share things, but I don't want to get very. It might not help much, but I deal with stress. I simply say, okay, for rent, money for rent. I don't have the money. I have some hope. I hold on to that for the next 2 days, next 3 days. And somehow that the 3 days come or the 1 day and the situation is dealt with. I simply don't carry the burden. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing with us how you deal with stress. And good to hear that. And by the way, I need to make mention of this, that I have a lot of respect for entrepreneurs, because the kind of challenges that you deal with, the kind of responsibilities that you carry, it's just amazing. Being a Christian, I always say that entrepreneurs have such great things. And indeed, it's so true. So thank you, Caroline, for that. Mercy, I see there's many comments.
Yes, there's lots of comments. Lots of comments, and thank you so much for your participation, everyone. Erica says, I hang out with friends. They always know how to calm me down, drinking, working out, just generally being with my kids. That's how she handles the stress. Moya says, I take a walk around the farm to clear my head. David plays the piano. That's what he does. Aisha says, I just pretend to ignore the stress causing element until some time or days pass. That's Aisha. That's how she handles it. And then Jaffa, I do sing or compose a song and also tell myself that life goes on. That's from Jaffa. Moyo says, I just put stress on mute so that it doesn't get over me. Wow. And Valerian says, I rarely respond to my stress. I make sure life moves on irrespective given the responsibilities I have. She pushes ahead. Phoebe goes for therapy, slips it off, and buries herself in music. Lastly, before you, Richard, this is Naomi. She says, I usually like to talk if the cause of the stress is a person, for example, a husband. After talking, I feel better. About work or stuff I can't talk myself out of, I like to be by myself. I listen to motivational messages and take my mind off the stress issue for a while. I also do a lot of pep talking. She talks to herself, since I'm generally a jolly person. Sometimes I go back to my vision and read it again and remind me of where I'm going and what I've overcome along the way. Awesome, Naomi, awesome. Richard, please talk to us. You have your hand raised.
Richard, are you there?
Yes.
All right. So I think Richard's hand is up, but he's still trying to find a way of getting through to us. So Mercy, I think that gives us a very fair picture. Richard, I see you're trying to speak, but your mic is muted. Please unmute Richard, and then you can share with us. We would love to hear from you, Richard.
Can you hear me well?
Okay, we can hear you. I think that is Zahab.
Yeah.
Okay, Zahab, I was mixed up. I saw Richard Zahab again for so. Zahab, please go ahead and share with us.
Yeah, to me, to manage my stress, I can, like a choir member as a Christian, I can think of my best song which can give me peace. I sing several times, and I can say that God will help me as long as I have that knowledge. With time, I will manage it.
Okay.
When I go to my good verses in Bible, if I read it, then I can make sure that I stay with my friends. I forget of other problems. I think that is what I can say.
Thank you so much, Zahab, for sharing with us how you, what ways you are able to deal with stress. And indeed, I would like to just appreciate each and every one of us for really taking the time to share with us. Really happy for how much you're sharing with us. So Mercy is going to come on and just introduce us to the aspect of wellness, dealing with stress. Now let's look at wellness. And how can we pursue wellness? Mercy, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. And well done, everybody, on all the feedback around stress and how you are managing it currently. At this point, we want to discuss wellness. What is wellness? Now that we know what stresses us, or we understand the triggers for our stress, or how the stress shows up, how do we deal with the stress? And that's what brings us to wellness. What is wellness? Wellness is made up of several areas of our general well-being, right? And it's described as the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis to attain better physical and mental health outcomes. So practicing healthy habits. And what are these healthy habits on a daily basis? These healthy habits in our general well-being can be mental habits, they can be social habits, they can be emotional habits, environmental habits, physical habits, and spiritual habits. So when we think about the mental habits, what do we think? Mentally, what are we talking about? Mentally, this is your ability to be level-headed and be sure of yourself so that you can successfully cope in a positive way in regards to the things that are stressing you. So that's about your mental wellness. What about your social wellness? And we'll go in depth with this later on, you know. With your social wellness, this aspect of your well-being is about you choosing to socialize in certain activities or with certain people or in certain environments that bring the most benefit to you and bring the most benefit to your productivity overall. And emotionally, emotional wellness is about you recognizing emotions and expressing them in a safe or proactive way instead of bottling them up, knowing how to navigate these emotions. And lastly, someone talked about the spiritual, how they go and read their Bible. This is about understanding your purpose in life, spiritually, understanding your purpose and what truly motivates you to allow this to guide you in making positive choices. So in the next few minutes, we're going to go over these different aspects of wellness one by one and look at them a bit in length and see, how do I cope mentally? What is mental wellness? What does social wellness look like? What does physical wellness look like? So first of all, we'll go to the mental wellness. So with our mental wellness, it's all about what's going on in our minds, you know, realizing it's a state of well-being in which every individual, one, realizes their own abilities. What is it that I can do? What can I take on? What can I not take on? Like in your life, like in your workspace, around the things that you are doing, the projects that you have at work, being able to mentally say that, you know what, I have maybe 4 projects that I'm handling. Can I take on a 5th one? Yeah. Mental wellness also has to do with being able, realizing or thinking through if you can cope with the normal stresses of your life. It's also a state of well-being in which an individual can work productively and fruitfully, but majorly with your mind. Or are you able to make a contribution to your own community? That's what your mental wellness is about. And in our mental wellness, we also have to think there's certain practices that we can do, things that we can practice on a daily that can help us, think clearly or can help us be in a good mental well state. One, some of you have mentioned that you can listen to music. Listening to music usually relieves a good set of hormones that can just, help the mind just relax and be able to move on productively. Or you can take breaks, someone talked about going for a walk at the farm. I know that for me as an individual, when I wake up in the morning and I'm so stressed and I take a walk, maybe a 4-kilometer walk, it's amazing the turnaround that happens when you just take a break and just take a walk, and your brain can think clearly and you can just say, you know what, maybe I should not do A, B, C, and D. Maybe option E is the best option to take. Then getting enough sleep. How much time do you sleep at night? What time do you go to bed at night? Do you go to bed after hours, like after 11 or 12? It's good to say scientifically, it's good to have at least 7 or more hours of sleep a night, 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, So you ask yourself, how much time are you getting to sleep? What is the benefit of sleeping? When we sleep, we allow our brains to relax, and lots of things in our bodies, like all the stresses or all the hormones that have built up in our bodies, to just recover and for growth to happen in our bodies internally. positive self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? Are you always telling yourself, you know what, you can do this? Or you're telling yourself, I don't think I can do that. You know, I'm not great enough. I'm not good enough. What are you telling yourself in your mind? Are you telling yourself, you know what, I think this is a difficult task, but I think I can do this. This project that we're starting on as a company, I think it might be difficult, but I think I can do this, or I can get help to do this. It's also good to mentally know your limits. You know, what can you take on? I said that at the beginning, being mindful of what you can take on and what you cannot take on. And then there's another tip right there, brain dumping. Brain dumping is a very good tip. I think I discovered it just recently when I was a bit overwhelmed and I was reading about, you know, how can I deal with this? I was trying to schedule my life, and then I discovered brain dumping. It's just that ability when you have so much going on in your mind. You know those moments where you're sitting up in the night, you're trying to sleep, but your mind is working overtime. You say, I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, I forgot. You go to sleep and you're like, oh, I forgot to do this assignment. Or I forgot to feed the cat, I was going to say, or feed the dogs or the rabbit, you know, or I forgot to do this for my daughter. I didn't check the homework, or I forgot to set these goals. So your mind is working over time. And there's a clever tip known as brain dumping. You simply get a piece of paper and write down anything that comes to your mind. I know most of us do to-do lists, you know, just write down everything that comes to your mind. It is amazing how much relief you will get in your mind when you start writing down these things and knowing that, you know what, I have project A, B, C, D, or I have to do this, I have to call this supplier, or I have to call this customer who has to pick up this, then I have to deal with this at home. If you write them all down, then it will relieve your mind to think clearly and know, where do I start from? What is the most important thing that I can do today? Of all the 20 things that I have written down, can I do all of them? Maybe yes, but maybe no. Realistically, you might not be able to do the 20. But then the fact that they are written on paper, you can say, you know what are the five most important or 3 most important things that you can do for that day, so that your mind can move on productively. Then the other thing that we can do, when you notice that something has upset you, when your mind notices that, you know what I'm doing is upsetting me, you have the ability to stop. And there's a beautiful acronym there, STOP. S meaning slow down. If things are getting overwhelming for you, mentally tell yourself, you know what? Let me stop. Let me slow down. Take a deep breath. And we can take the deep breath by the many things that we said earlier. Listen to music, you know, talk to yourself, breathe in and out. Observe what is going on. What is it that is causing the stress around me? What is triggering all the emotions that I have? What is triggering the anger that I have around me? And once you observe what is going on around you, then you can proceed in a more productive way, in a more coherent way. So whenever you're going through stress, remember, stop. And stop, you can stop by 1, slowing down. 2, taking a deep breath. 3, observe your surroundings. Observe what's going on around you. And then make the wise choice and proceed in a way that is more productive to you. Lastly, around our mental wellness, there are certain exercises that we can do. We've just said stop. How do you stop? How do you go ahead and take a deep breath? You know, there is a productive way of taking a deep breath that can actually help your whole body relax. And how can you do that? It's called a 4-7-8 breath walkthrough. And we can do this together right now. I can first explain it, then we can try it together. Yeah? Are you ready to switch on your cameras if you want to, so that we can try it together? This one, in the 4-7-8, what you can do in this technique is inhale, taking a breath on a count of 4. So you breathe in, and then you breathe in through your nose, and then you hold your breath for a count of 7. At the count of 7, then you let it out at the count of 8. So can we try this together, wherever you are? It's okay if you don't switch on your camera. I have Peter with me. He can try it out with me on camera. I have some brave people. There's Eddie there. There's Jaffa. I have brave people who are ready to just practice this breath control together. So remember, taking your breath at the count of 4. So deep breath in, and then you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then let it out on 8 seconds. I was hoping Merab is going to join us on this one, since she's been very brave throughout, you know. So let's do this together. So take a deep breath in through your nose. And out. So I was counting for you with my fingers, but this time I want us to do it. You do it, and I will count for you out loud. Ready? Slow breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then out on 8. Out really loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you can do this a number of times, maybe 3 times or 4 times. And I assure you, by the time you do the 4th time, you might be feeling a lot better than when you started. Right, Jaffa? Give me a thumbs up if it worked for you. Yeah? Well done, Merab. Over to you, Peter.
Hey, beautiful. Thank you so much, Rose Massey. And by the way, the stop technique and the breathing technique will save some of us here a lot of money, or save you from a lot of trouble. Sometimes we respond, just out of impulse. We respond, we react, and many times we think and say, "What did I just do?" In fact, there's actually a story, Mercy, of this gentleman, I think it was in the press some time back, who got knocked by a border, hit the tail light of his car, and he came out, and he was very rough on the border rider, and he demanded 500,000 shillings from him to repair the car, and the border gentleman offered him 50,000 shillings, and he was so upset. And having failed to reach a negotiation, the border cyclist jumped on his bike and he sped off. And this guy gets into his car and he pursues him and he knocks him off the border. And the story is an unfortunate story, because then when this guy did that, other border cyclists came and surrounded him, and he was beaten to death. He was beaten to death. And looking back at how that experience played out, if he had stopped, probably his reaction would have been different. If he had taken the breath exercise, you just said, Mercy here, maybe his outcome would not have been an outcome of death. How many of us respond or react in ways that we live to regret for a lifetime, in terms of the negative impact on your health, negative impact on your relationship, where you lose a very critical or vital employee just because you screamed at them. And so these are very practical, very important things for us to. So thank you, Mercy, for that. And thank you for those of you who behind the camera were doing that. We did not see you, but we know that you were doing that. So thank you. And for those who are brave enough to come to share with us and you hand on your cameras, I really, really appreciate you for that. So the next one that's what I'd like to look at is emotional wellness. So Mercy shared about the mental wellness. So emotional wellness, again, is really the awareness, understanding, and acceptance of our emotions, as well as the ability, and please hear this very carefully, the ability to regulate our emotions. I like that it starts from the place of awareness. How we respond emotionally as we're going through a stressful time. Usually the people who are around us, because they are people who receive our responses, they are aware, but sometimes we're not aware. Sometimes, and that's why sometimes people around you, when you are stressed, you see that they tend to avoid you because of the way you are emotionally placed in those times. And so awareness is important. And with awareness then comes understanding. Once you are aware that when I am stressed, this is how I tend to respond emotionally. I get moody, I shout at people, I become angry, I become irritable, I snap. So these things in terms of our emotions, or a sense of awareness, and then understanding and then accepting that, you know what, I think I'm not handling my emotions very well, and I need to learn how to deal with them. And with the acceptance then comes the growth in how to regulate your emotions. We've probably had the term emotional intelligence, the ability for you to know how to respond emotionally in a way that will provide a sense of regulation, so that you are not responding emotionally in a way that will have negative repercussions. So awareness, understanding, acceptance, and the regulating of our emotions. And in doing this, I think again, the key idea for us is being emotionally well leads to a happier and more blissful life, allows you to have the opportunity to attain your full potential. And the idea is that we need to be emotionally well. And how does practicing emotional wellness look like? First, we see here a sense of feeling grateful, of feeling gratitude for your life and the goodness you experience. I do know that many a time stressful events will cause us to focus on what is not going right. And the truth is that whatever we focus on gets magnified. It could be something that may be small, but because we give it our focus and it's preoccupying our minds, then all of a sudden its impact is magnified and we think that all is going wrong. I don't know how many of you have encountered people who something small happens to them and it's like the world is coming to an end. Because that seems to be the thing that is magnified. I mean, the time it's good in those moments to identify areas in our lives that we are grateful for, things that are going well. We can appreciate and say, you know, whereas this is not going right, at least I'm thankful that this is going right. And so feeling gratitude for your life and the goodness you experience. Second thing is, again, really an outworking of being sensitive to the needs of others and spiritually generous. And the whole idea is that, again, get the focus away from you and begin to focus on others in terms of meeting their needs. maybe we have this issue that has happened. Again, the question for you as a leader of that team is to ask the team members, are you okay? Are you well? How are you dealing with this? When you take the focus away from you onto others, then it will stabilize your emotional state. And also in ways you can benefit others spiritually. Connecting with others and creating a strong support network. Because of the pressures that you know that you are dealing with, it's important, and I think one of you did mention that one of the ways that you respond to stress is just looking out for your friends, spending time with them, engaging with them. And that's a great thing, because then people that bring a sense of joy in our lives have a way they will calm us down, have a way we will reflect back what we're dealing with, and they give us advice and we engage. So connecting with others. And I need to mention this because many a time, extreme levels of stress can push us to withdraw from others. I encourage us, let's do the very opposite and purpose to look out for people in our family, people in our church family, people in our faith family, people in our work family, people who we can relate with and engage and connect. Find ways to navigate the stressors, life. So different areas, and I think Mercy will touch this when we come to environmental wellness. And so it could be, again, ways in which there are people who I know who the sound of flowing water or the sound of waves beating calms them down. So such a person would take some time and go to the beachside, where they're able to hear waves beating one to another, or by the stream where they're able to hear water flowing. Because that sound is helpful. I know someone who, in this particular area here, will just turn on the tap, and just the flow of water on the tap is soothing for them. So whatever works for you, find ways to really decompress in terms of your emotion. And also the other thing is feeling as if you are living the life you have always wanted to live. And again, the whole idea about emotional wellness is just to look at your life. Look at life, because many a time, again, stressing occurrences will move us away from the broader picture of our lives. Many of us have the privilege of owning and leading and doing businesses that we are passionate about, that we have always dreamt about. You are in the place of your life that you have always desired to be. It comes with the pressures. Sometimes it's good to step back and say, but wait a minute, I'm doing what I love to do. I'm passionate about making coffee, passionate about doing this or the other. And many times when we move away to the broader picture, it helps us to deal with that. And of course, practicing mindfulness, a state of active, open attention to the present. And again, how can we again just separate ourselves from the issue we're dealing with and just be alert, open your mind to what you're dealing with presently. So these are some of the emotional practices that we can do in the area of wellness. And I do hope that we are together. Okay. So that is emotional wellness. And remember, you need to regulate your emotions. You will live through regret. Over to you, Mercy, in regard to
Good. So we've covered, thank you, Peter. So we've covered emotional wellness and mental wellness, and now physical wellness. I think this is something most of us enjoyed, especially here in Uganda during the lockdowns, where we saw lots of people exercising. So your body needs to be healthy so that you can perform to the best of your ability in all areas. And that also includes the physical area, like you have to be able to exercise. The World Health Organization recognizes that adults between the ages of 18 and 64 should exercise at least 3 to 4 hours of moderate intensity in a week, every week, and then maybe muscle training for maybe it's recommended for two days a week at least. So are you exercising? Are you taking care of your body? Are you taking walks? Exercise is not only jogging or maybe going to the gym. There are things that don't cost money, you know, things that we can do, just like taking a simple walk or dancing in your house. Most of us mentioned that they love music. You can dance in your house or go for aerobics with your friends, you know. That alone can just relieve a lot of stress in our physical bodies. And then getting consistent and adequate sleep. I think I mentioned this before. It helps our bodies and minds repair. We not only get the rest that we need, but there's a lot of repair that happens internally in our body organs when we get enough sleep. So get active. We all need to get active. Go for a walk. Take your kids for a walk in the neighborhood. Let them see the things around them. Or, you know, at your workplace, there are those exercises that if you're seated maybe most of the day, there are exercises that you can do while seated on your chair. Or take a moment. We've bought all these fancy watches sometimes that tell you, you need to stand up now. You know, you've sat for too long, you know, that kind of thing. So let's get things that prompt us to just keep on exercising so that our bodies are at their best. Lastly, about exercise, we all know that we can exercise as much as we can, but sometimes if we keep on eating the wrong foods, we might actually just like you put in a lot of effort, then we wash away all the effort by the amount of food or the type of food that we eat. So what is the right way to eat? All the health scientists or people who deal with nutrition tell us our plates should be filled, like most of it should be filled with vegetables. You know, vegetables, a larger portion of it is vegetables and fruits, then a small portion of grains and protein. And the grains could be your carbs, the good carbs like the cassava, the potatoes, but small. They usually advise that if you're putting a carb on your plate, only put a fistful, you know. And then we have to know how to mix our foods. Do we eat all our carbohydrates with our proteins? Maybe it's best to eat our proteins with the vegetables, then the carbohydrates with the vegetables, so that there's a good mix going on. So it makes it easy for our intestines to digest the food. So how are we piling up our plates? That's something also to think about. How are we piling up our plates? Do we pile them up there that high when we're going to eat? What kind of portions are we putting on the plate? So things to reflect about, things for us to think about, and so that we can make the necessary changes in our lives that can help us live longer, but also help us live good lives, stress-free lives. Okay, there's a little bit of stress, but you know, good stress. We want good stress, not the lot of stress. Then the other thing is water. What is our intake of water? How much water are we drinking a day? Are we drinking too much soda or too much alcohol? You know, how much water are we drinking a day? 2 liters of water is recommended for us in a day. So that is physical stress for us. So we've gone over physical stress, we've gone over mental stress, and we've gone over emotional stress. And very quickly, we'll go over the 2 types of stress, the next ones, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mercy, for that. And I do hope that each and every one of us is beginning to see things that you can be able to do differently. Why? Because you owe it to yourself to be well. Because when you are well, every other area of your life will experience a you that is better and will be better as well. So let's take care of ourselves, because when we are better, everyone else and every area else will be better. So social wellness refers to the relationships we have and the ways we interact with others. So In terms of social wellness, I think it's important for us to give attention to this area. First and foremost, discover a hobby. Besides, there are people who live their lives and it's from one assignment to the other initiative to the other pursuit, and we never get a time when we do things for fun. Do things for fun. Everything is serious and we never get a break. There's a reason why fun events are called recreational events. And recreation is basically giving ourselves a new lease to life. And so these fun events give us a sense of refreshing and recreation. And so discover a hobby, something you can do for fun, photography, I don't know what that is, something that you just do for fun. Meet up with friends, people that speak into your life, people that are able to give you quite a good laugh, people that you're able to reflect on about life's issues, and also make the time to cultivate your relationships. Invest in your family members, your spouses, your children, your relatives, your neighbors. Cultivate your relationships, spend time so that, because one of the things about life is that we are not meant to do life by ourselves. When we are lonely, it can be very depressing. But when we have people around us, supporting us, standing with us, we have meaningful relationships with our children, with our spouses, it is able to add a sense of energy and refreshing. So social wellness involves building healthy, nurturing, and supportive relationships, as well as fostering genuine connections with those around us. It is sad that indeed we're in a time and period, Mercy, where you could have 1,000 or 5,000 friends on social media, but yet you're still very lonely. If you don't have meaningful, genuine connection. So let us step out of our comfort and build our relationships, meet friends, and find hobbies we can do. And indeed, when we are socially well, indeed, it brings about positive emotions. We feel we're feeling seen, noticed, and appreciated by others, and that feels good because then when our children, our spouses, our friends are able to see us, notice us, appreciate us, stand with us, we feel good about ourselves, good about ourselves. We're able to get the support we need from others when we need help, tangible aid. It benefits our physical health when we have people around and about us. And that's why you see that even when people grow old and they're taken to old people homes, they die faster. Why? They're removed from the place where they're able to be exposed to their grandchildren and people around them. So we live longer and respond better to stress when we have a social support system. And also knowledge as well. We all have something different and valuable to share with others. And so it's not just for your benefit, but also for the benefit of others. And that is social wellness. So Mercy, come and take us through environmental wellness.
And this is the most exciting one, I think, for me, environmental wellness. I don't know about you, but I love good spaces, especially green spaces. And that's what environmental wellness is all about. It's about having good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. So, how clean is the environment you're working in as an entrepreneur right now? Is it painted? Are there some flowers around you? Have you planted some trees around you in your workspace? It's also about how safe you feel in the space you live in, or how often you interact with green spaces. Now, you may not have a green space around you, but you can go to a place that has a green space. It's about having a sense of security in your home, your workplace, physical, mental, emotional safety in all relationships. That's all in our environment. I don't know about you, but like I said, I love going to good spaces. And it's amazing what spaces do when they are the right spaces. Like I know most of us love going, not most of us, I shouldn't say that. You know how you visit like places like the Serena and you wonder why they're so pleasant? You just walk into the space and your whole atmosphere changes. Your body atmosphere changes. If you're keen enough to observe why, it's because they have done something with the environment of that space. You will walk in, first of all, you will be met by pleasant music, right? Like acoustic music in the background. And then you will hear water, the sound of water, or even frogs. There's like water around you, you know? So what are we doing in the spaces that we live in to make them comfortable for us? They might not look like the Serena, but we can create our own Serena in our homes, in our work environments. And that starts by how clean are we keeping them? Are we sweeping them up? Is the farm clean? Is the stall where you work clean? You know? Or have you planted a flower or two? How are we disposing of the waste around us? That also has to do with environmental wellness, you know? Are we disposing of our garbage well in our environments? Are we separating the recyclable items from the non-recyclable items? Because all these that we do, the choices that we make around our environment every day do affect us in the future. If we're just throwing all the kavera, the garbage bags everywhere, the bottles everywhere, and you're thinking, oh, but I've thrown it outside. It's outside my home. Guess what? It's going to end up in a drainage around you. And what is going to happen? When the rains come, they're going to block the drainage around you. And before you know it, your environment at home or the place where you live or the place where you work will not be good. You'll be like, I need to move to a new place. But why? Because maybe we need to think through a bit more of how we are taking care of the surroundings around us to just stimulate our minds, our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual well-being. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mercy, for that very important aspect, environmental wellness. So the last one is really spiritual wellness. So again, we're looking at the key facets that we need to address because our lives are not disjointed. We all experience challenges in the different facets that we've been talking about. So how do we really work on the issue of spiritual wellness? And again, if you look at the center of the circle here, you see that there's that life meaning and purpose. And so all of us we at one point in time ask ourselves, who am I? Who am I? And why do I exist? What do I exist for? Is there more to my life than just the things I'm going through? And it's important for us to appreciate this perspective, and this really speaks into spiritual wellness because we need to recognize and discover who we are, what purpose we were created to accomplish. And that helps us provide a sense of anchoring to our lives, helps us find a sense of meaning. Find someone who has no meaning through their lives and they're going through the motions of doing whatever they do. And I tell you, when challenges come, they are completely scattered and it doesn't help because then there'll be a sense of emptiness or a lack of significance about their lives. I am glad, and I know that Mercy has done the same thing. I am glad that I know what my life is all about. I know the purpose for why I exist. And thankfully, as a Christian, I have been able to discover that in God. And it's important for us to discover so that our lives have a sense of meaning and purpose. It's not just about doing the things you do and going about everything. What is the bigger picture? We see that in discovering our life meaning and purpose, it speaks to our values. Who are we? What do we stand for? What do we value? Who are you in terms of the person that you are? If I'm to describe who you are, what are the 5 things I would say about you in terms of the values, things that you value, things that you hold as important to you above anything else? What are your beliefs, the things that you believe? Because our beliefs eventually influence our outlook to life, influence our behavior, influence our character. What you believe will influence who you are and what you do. So what are your beliefs? What do you believe about life? What do you believe about success? What do you believe about work? What do you believe about relationships or family? What's your belief about life? The passions and interests that you have. What are things that you are passionate about? It's important for us to find what our passions are, because each and every one of us was created with unique passions. There are things that Mercy loves to do that I have no love to do, and there are things that are unique to me. And all of us are unique in regard to our passions and interests. So your spiritual wellness is really about connecting to something greater than you, a greater purpose than you, that you are a part of something greater. And again, like I said, I mean, we may be people here of different faiths, but again, because I'm a Christian, find my meaning and purpose in God. And through that, I've been able to determine what is it that is my purpose. And so what is your purpose? And even think about what you do. What was led you to start your own business? Why are you in business? Is there a greater purpose to what you're doing? Or is it just about the money? And whatever you can find to give you money is what you will do. You derive something greater than making money in what you do. Is it a sense of fulfillment for you to see people's lives transform as they take that coffee? Or people's lives transform as they eat healthy food? So what is it? Why is it that you went into the business that you did? And I would like for us just to think about these 2 questions. 2 questions. So write down what your top 3 values for your business or professional goals, family, relationships, and personal attributes are. What are 3 things that you value? For instance, for myself, I'll tell you that I value integrity. I value doing things right. I value no matter what. I value authenticity for that matter. I want to be real. I don't want to put a picture of something else. I want to be real, and I value people who are real, authentic. What you see is what you actually get. So what are the top 3 values for you as a person? Values for your business. You value people. You value people and see them as valuable, see them as people that are worth taking care of and handling well. So, and then second thing here is that personally reflect on what motivates you to continue on your path of entrepreneurship. What makes your work meaningful to you? What things will cause you to wake up early in the morning and look forward to going back to doing that same business you're doing, because there's something beyond the profits, something beyond the challenges, something that will cause you to confront and go through challenging times just because there is something that is of more value. And so what is that motivates you to continue in your path of entrepreneurship? And I would like just to write down these somewhere, probably on a note somewhere in your book. Take some time to reflect on this, maybe after this session, and always have this somewhere before you, so they can help you to find a sense of spiritual wellness. And again, remember, it's really about going to a place where it is beyond you. You are part of something bigger than just yourself. There's a sense of meaning, purpose, and value to what you do. And so, as we just wrap this up, so the areas that we've shared, taking care of one area of wellness will naturally enhance the others. And so it's not for us just to look and say, let me just focus on my physical and that will be it. No. Take time. Focus. Give focus to your environmental, mental, social, emotional, spiritual, and physical wellness. And you will be able to have a complete sense of wellness or overall sense of wellness. Because when you neglect one area, all other areas get affected. If you ignore your the physical aspect of your life, and you fall sick, it will affect you mentally, affect you socially, affect you emotionally, affect you spiritually, and no one wants to be in a hospital environment. It will definitely affect you environmentally. And so let's be wise in taking care of ourselves. And taking care of all areas of your wellness will help you be in a better position, help yourself, your business, your employees to thrive. Why? As we end, a better you is better for every other area of your life. So Mercy will come in and just help us do the simple case study for us to just see what this means in a typical setting of where someone is dealing with challenges that are bringing stress. Mercy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. We're at the end right now. We're at the tail end. And if you could just give us maybe 5 minutes for us to go into our breakout rooms. And Peter, if you could share that case study, and Merab, if you could post it in the chat box, for us to go back and just put everything that we have learned or everything that we have been discussing, if we can put it together using this case of Afia, right? And then just discuss in your breakout room. The question for you in your breakout room is, what few things could you suggest for Afia? So Afia is this entrepreneur, right? She's 28 years old. She's a single mother, has 2 children. They are of course in school. After she started her business, Afia started getting very overwhelmed with the responsibility of raising her 2 children on her own, but also cultivating the business at the same time. She realized she had very little time for herself, and she always felt like she was giving something important up to have some free time. She felt as though she never had any energy left. And the little energy she has, she had to give to her children and to her business, always placing herself last in the priorities that she has. Given what little time she had throughout the day, she didn't feel like she had the time to exercise or cook. So she would often resort to buying meals somewhere to just feed the children, processed foods. So the question for you in your breakout rooms, and Peter is going to send us into those breakout rooms, discuss. Afia is a representation of all of us here as entrepreneurs. Discuss, what can you suggest that Afia can do? So we'll be in the breakout rooms for only 5 minutes. And also an opportunity for us to network as entrepreneurs in these rooms. And then after 5 minutes, let's come back in, choose a leader for your group in your breakout room. Come back, when you come back together, let's discuss what happened or what Afia, the suggestions that you have for Afia, and then we'll check out then. So this is the last thing that we're doing. But thank you so much for being very, very good participants. Yeah, over to you, Peter, for the breakout rooms.
Okay, so I'm going to create 4 breakout rooms.
Yeah.
That will be about 5 participants per room. So I'm opening up the rooms right now. So there should be a pop-up on your screen asking you to join a meeting room. Thank you very much for the discussions. At least I was a fly in the wall in every room. and interesting stuff that came through. So, Mercy, would you like just to debrief the room's discussion, and then we can wrap it up?
Yes, yes. And if we could have like maybe feedback from one or two of the groups to tell us what suggestions they had for Afia. I know in my group we had out of the box ideas that were like, yeah, this person is really thinking about stress. So Jaffa, and I know I was in the group with Naomi. Is she back? Is Naomi back?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so Jaffa and Naomi, is there anyone else who'd want to share? Jaffa, you go first.
All right, thank you. So I think the first thing to think of is finding this lady, this entrepreneur has to find the right managers and split roles within the managers or the supervisors, so that people can execute their activities regardless of her presence. She also feels that she also needs to have a routine of herself. For instance, let's say every Monday I wake up, have 3 hours doing my thing, whatever she may think of doing. Those 3 hours are for myself, not engaging business or anything. Then we also thought of a proper schedule, having a proper schedule that has to be followed. You know, if I'm scheduling to meet my managers every Thursday, after that I have to go meet my clients somewhere. I'm scheduling to, I'll be meeting my my other employees on this time. So having a proper schedule is something that she needs also to put in place. We also talked about not forgetting there's a need for her to create a space for the family, for her 2 babies. She should not forget that regardless of her busy schedules, she is still a mother. So she needs to take some time to be a mother, because business is eating her up, but also missing that connection and the connection of the mother and children. Lastly, we talked about manager, find the right team. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it from us.
Thank you so much, Jaffa. Delegation to relieve stress. I think that's the main thing that I heard you speak about or brought out so clearly. Thank you, Jaffa. Thank you, Jaffa's team. Phoebe, Naomi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mercy. So one of the things we talked about was, first of all, identifying people that are like her, single mothers, single working mothers, and then joining their community, finding out how do they handle the issues that they go through. And then after that, making a schedule so that she knows what time to allot to herself, to the children, to her work. And then also about exercising. She could walk to work. So the assumption for me particularly was that she is a tailor and doesn't have any other stuff. So if she's going to maybe her shop, she could walk there to exercise her body. Or if she's working from home, she could use the time when after working hours, she could play with her children, and also take advantage of the fact that playing with like children themselves, even of releasing stress. If you are playing with them, for example, and giving them attention, asking them questions, hearing them respond and see what they think. So being involved in their lives can also be a way to help her release stress. And then praying, listening to inspirational messages, either while she's working or walking to work, or And then, yeah, also maybe sleeping longer and doing the breathing exercises whenever she can. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you so much. As we wind up, we posted a Google Docs form in the a link in the chat box. Please click it and fill it out for us and give us the feedback, any feedback that you have. And as we close out, would like to say thank you so much for just fully participating and actively participating with us. And we would also want to acknowledge Finding XY for the great work that they have done in making this session possible around wellness. We want to acknowledge the HEALD team, the HLE Ed team, right? For everything that they've done. I want to acknowledge you. Hannah, I think, is still online. Ethan and Lana, for making sure that this presentation has gone so well, and for the very good intellectual research around wellness that you have provided for us. And also we want to acknowledge the Institute of Accra, the Institute of Environment, for everything that they have done. Naomi, your hand is up. Would you like to say something?
I'm sorry, I wanted to, I hoped I would raise it after I spoken, but since this is the last online session, I wanted to very quickly appreciate Merab, who has been our coordinator all this while. She has been so on top of things, and I can say this has been the most organized training thing I've been part of. Like, everything has been available on time, and it's been so easy for us to keep on track. And there's someone who has been calling me every day before the sessions just to remind me that we are going to have a class today. So I want to appreciate Mirab and that other lady, I forgot her name. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I would like to just hand over to my colleague Peter to just say a big thank you. Then we can hand everything back to Merab. Oh, and Jaffa raised his hand too. Before Peter, Jaffa, what would you like to say?
Sorry, guys, I joined this late, and I've just heard Naomi saying, it's been a very interesting training. I've actually loved it, and I was about to ask you guys when the second one is coming, or when are you organizing a training of this kind? Because honestly, many of us do not have, like the lady's story that you shared. Many of us do not have time, but we are stressed with relationships, family, and work, So on such platforms, this is where we get the opportunity to know how to deal with the situation. And just to be honest with you, I feel like I'm kind of relieved with the stress that I've been with. And at least now I know I can deal, I have different aspects I can use to deal with it. So thank you so much. And endeavor always to reach out to me in case there is one being organized again.
Oh, thank you so much, Jaffa. And if anyone else has any more feedback, please just put it in the chat. What have you found most useful? What are you taking away as we're having these closing remarks? Over to you, Peter.
All right. Thank you so much, Mercy. And I would like to extend my appreciation to each and every one of you for making our session today very interactive, very engaging, for sharing with us your personal experiences, and for allowing us to just spend this time with you. So, and also a big thanks to Merab and of course the HEALD team, the Finding XY team as well. It's been really a privilege spending these 2 hours in a space of entrepreneurs. And again, the emphasis for us, even as we leave, is that take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, because a better you means a better family, a better business, better employees, and better teams. So do not neglect yourself. You are the engine that keeps the business running, and so you need to make sure that the engine is well oiled. So indeed, let's take it and be intentional about taking care of ourselves so that we are well in all the key aspects of our lives. And we look forward to the future time of interacting with you. So God bless you. Over to you, Mary. Thank you.